We talk about, I was sensing the word responsibility, and it's a characteristic that we want to carry. And thank you, Jesse, for preaching on Jesus Christ and his birth. I was thinking that Jesus took on the responsibility to redeem us. He took on the responsibility, and because he took on the responsibility for us, he was willing to do what it takes to make it happen. And what is it that we take responsibility for? There's something about when we take responsibility first for our own life, for our own actions, and the things that we are called to do, that we take responsibility how we conduct our own life is number one, what we do with ourselves. Number two, we might take a responsibility as a child. We might take responsibility for an animal. How many people are responsible for an animal or animals? Yeah, we take responsibility. And when we take responsibility for an animal now, we are in charge and we're responsible to make sure that animal gets food and water and whatever kind of pen or corral that the animal has. We're responsible for the health and the well-being of that animal, and we take care of it. And how well we do, that's how well this animal can prosper. How many of us ever take responsibility for a younger sibling? Younger sibling? Okay, we take responsibility for someone younger than us to make sure that it goes well. Maybe dads are gone away and we're in charge. And we take responsibility of what happens. As we go through life, we develop more and take on more and more responsibilities. If we get married, as a man, if we want a wife and we want to get married, we take responsibility for the wife. We take responsibility for another person to make sure that the wife is, number one, cared for, has enough of money to have food and shelter and clothes and emotions and her heart. We take responsibility for the one whose heart that we take and how we treat that heart and what we do with that person. We take more. To get married is a greater responsibility than not being married. And if we're a woman or a wife, we take responsibility for a husband to nourish and cherish and help our husband and to honor him and to serve him and to make him prosper and to make him successful in his life. So as we continue, if we have children, we take responsibility for a family, for raising up families. So responsibility grows and grows and grows if we want to take on new responsibility. And so I'm seeing that many of us have taken on responsibility. We have taken on more responsibility and even more responsibility. And my encouragement is that we do it with excellence. If we pick something up, we pick up a project, or we start a business. Starting a business is taking a responsibility for our business, to steward that. When we hire people as employees, we take responsibility for the employees. More and more, or a ministry. We take a responsibility for ministry, stewarding finances, or stewarding projects, or responsibility stewarding. Even if we start having a church, we take responsibility for the direction that we go. We take responsibility for lives of others. And I'm seeing we have a lot of people here that have taken responsibility and stepped in and said, you know what, I will take responsibility. Even to a part where we drain ourselves out sometimes. Because when we take responsibility for something, then there comes along sacrifice. It comes with it. Sacrifice of current pleasantries or current delights for long-term gain. Or why would we do it? Why would we take a responsibility for something if there would be no reward? There's going to be eternal rewards, and there's going to be even long-term rewards here of taking responsibility. There's a reward being responsible for a marriage. There's delights and beauties in a marriage that are rewarding if we do well with if even raising a family, there's delights if we take responsibility. When we take responsibility, there will come along some things that are not pleasant that we have to step in when the things are out of order. Not everything goes right. We take responsibility for it and work through it until it's solved or resolved. And if sometimes it looks like we fail, it's probably because we decided to take responsibility for something. And in the midst of taking that responsibility, we learn. And through the midst of failures and things and mistakes, we pick ourselves up and we learn from that. If we learn from our mistakes, I don't mind making a mistake or having people make mistakes if we learn from them and not keep doing them over and over again. I don't like making mistakes, but sometimes happens if we learn from them and we grow better. So if we learn how to do the foundational principles of responsible for our life, responsible for others, responsible for family, whatever that looks like, God will give us more and more responsibilities as we are capable. In fact, the field is so wide and big for as much as we want to take responsibility for. It literally is. There is no lack of opportunities out there to take responsibility for something. If we want more animals, if we want more children or people, children are born, but they can also be adopted. If we want responsibility for more of that, every time we have a child or we adopt a child, there comes a responsibility for the child. If we want more responsibility, here's my challenge, that what we do today, that we do it with excellence. That what we are responsible for today, we do it with excellence, we do it with joy, we press into the pressure, we deal with the tough stuff. When things are out of order, we step in and look, what's God saying about this situation, and we work through it and we make it work, and then God will give us more opportunities if we want them. Because with it comes rewards. With good stewardship of the responsible things that we have come rewards, and bigger rewards, and bigger rewards, and bigger rewards. The more we take responsibility for, the more rewards there are. And if we don't grow weary in well-doing, we're going to benefit from it. Now, I'm not saying we should step out and do more than what we can handle. Not saying that. Not saying that we should have our life in such a chaos we can't take care of what we've got. Sometimes we have to trim before we add more. Sometimes we have to trim things out of our life that are old season. They had their time. They had their season. They were there for a purpose. A grapevine or a tree or whatever. The branches were there for a purpose for its season. And then you cut some of them off to make room for the new growth. And so we may have to cut some things out of our life. Cut some things off. Sell some animals or whatever. We don't cut off for children. We don't cut them off. They're there for life. Sometimes we cut off some responsibilities to make room for more. For example, in our government, when a person's a senator, he can't continue being a senator if he's going to be a president. Can't. He has to let the senator role go to become the president. And so sometimes we have to be willing to let go of some things that we were in charge of, or some things that we were taking care of, and be able to release them to be able to go on into our next season. So I encourage everybody for every good work that has been done. We literally pour our lives out. I know a lot of us pour our lives out for our children and the things we're responsible, and I want to bless everyone for doing that, as well as people outside the family, as well as whoever God sends. And I want to say God will give us the strength and the courage. We keep pressing in. As we keep giving our bread to the hungry, He will make our light shine before us. He will even make the darkest part of our life will be bright as the middle of the day. If we keep feeding the hungry and and serving those around us and spreading light. And even though we grow weary and we might get tired and we're ready for bed at the end of the day, at least we can fall asleep and have good sleep. And God gives good sleep for his people. God bless you.